Hello everyone and welcome to yet another episode of Storytime with Zenith. Get cozy everyone. Today we'll be hearing the story Rounding Up Camels, a folktale from India. Once upon a time in the great Thar desert of Rajasthan, there lived a man with 17 camels. He was 75 years old and he decided to live the last few years of his life alone. So, he decided to give away his wealth to his 3 sons. He was not fond of tearful farewells, so he wrote a will and left quietly one night. So let's see what happens next. Early the next morning, when the sun was painting small pink streaks on the morning sky, the sons awoke. They were sad to see that their father was gone, but they were also very practical young men. So after a few hours, the eldest son decided it's time to read their father's will. To my 3 sons, I leave my 17 camels, read the will. 1/9 of these shall go to my youngest, my second son shall have 1/3, and my eldest shall take half. The 3 sons read the will over and over again, but they couldn't understand what their father wanted them to do. 17 divided by 9 is not quite 2, but more than 1, said the youngest son. Since I am to have a smallest portion, it's only fair to let me take more than my share. Please give me 2. No, argued the eldest. If you take more than your fair share, I definitely will get less than mine. I am the eldest, so if anyone decided to get more than their share, it's ought to be me. Half of 17 is 8.5. Half a camel is no use to anyone. No, said the middle son. Why should you take more than your share? 1/3 of 17 is 5 2/3. I refuse to take fewer than 5 2/3 because that is my rightful share. So they argued and argued until the sun rose high in the sky and the sand shimmered like golden liquid. At last the youngest son said, "Look, this is clearly too tricky to sort out by our own. Shall we ask someone for help?" "You're right. Perhaps we should ask the old woman who lives by the oasis," suggested the eldest. "A good idea," the middle son agreed. The youngest nodded. "They say she's a very wise woman," he said. So the brothers roped the camels together. The eldest climbed on the back of the first, the middle one onto the second, and the youngest on the back of the very last camel. They rode together to the small pool of water, near which they saw the old woman sitting in the shade of a hut. The 3 brothers dismounted and greeted her respectfully. She glanced at them standing before her with bowed heads. "Is something the matter, my sons?" she asked. "Grandmother, we need your help," said the eldest son. "Our father has left us with 17 camels. I am to inherit half of this. But half of 17 is neither 2 nor 8. I think I should take 9, but my brothers don't agree." "Why not?" asked the old woman, raising her eyebrows. "If he takes more than his share, I will definitely get less than mine, and I'm not willing to take my fair share," replied the second son. "What is your fair share?" asked the old woman. 1/3, grandmother. 1/3 of 17 is not quite 6, but more than 5. What am I to do? Less than a whole camel is no use to anyone, said the second son. Before the woman could say anything, the youngest jumped up with his plea. "I am left with only 1/9 of the 17 camels. May I take more than my share, since I am to have the smallest number of camels?" The brothers began to carol again, just like they had did the whole morning. The old woman watched them thoughtfully for a while. Then, laying a hand on the eldest son's shoulder, she said, "Your brothers don't fight with one another. But then, are we to break the rules our father set about how to divide his wealth?" He said, "Is that what we must do?" The wise woman closed her eyes. You have a difficult problem. 17 is a hard number to divide. What are we to do? Asked the youngest son, his forehead churned with worry. Do you see that camel in my yard? The old woman said. Bring him here and tie him alongside the other camels. We will add him to your wealth. We can't do that. We can't touch your camel. Gasped the eldest in surprise. The other two stared at her, too touched by her generosity to utter a word. Do as I say, she commanded. The sons obeyed. When all 18 camels were tied together, the wise woman spoke to the youngest son. Wasn't your share a ninth? Yes, grandmother, she said meekly. Can you divide 18 by 9? Yes, that would be 2. Good, that is correct, said the old woman approvingly. Now, would you be happy with 2 camels? Yes, for that is more than my share, said the youngest happily. Choose 2 of your father's camels and promise not to argue anymore, she said. I promise, said the youngest, and hastily trying to hide his joy in his words. She chose the strongest and the best 2 camels and hurried away. The other 2 brothers were quite upset. Now surely they would get less. The wise woman beckoned to the second son. Was your share a third? Yes, he said in a disgruntled tone. I should get no less than 5 2/3. 18 divided by 3 is 6. Take any 6 other than mine and swear that you'll remain content. Of course I will. That is more, not less than 5 2/3. The middle son exclaimed joyfully. He chose 6 fine camels and sped rapidly away because he was sure that the woman had made a grave mistake. The eldest brother was extremely upset. Grandmother, I deserve at least 8.5 camels, he said, unable to hide his disappointment. Why did you give my brothers more and me less? Patience, my son. You'll get half of 18 instead of 17. Do you know what that is? Yes, that is 9, the eldest son replied with a righteous tone. Then take 9 that are not mine, said the wise woman. The brother stared in front of him and was surprised to see that there were indeed 9 camels other than the woman's. You have worked a miracle, he gasped. Not quite, said the woman modestly. How can we ever thank you, said he, still overwhelmed. By living in peace with your brothers, she replied. As the eldest son walked away with his 9 fine camels, she rose beneath the palm tree and walked over to her own camel. You made the difference, my old friend, she said, stroking his warm neck. The camel nuzzled her elbow. Together they watched the last shred of red sky disappear into the darkness of the desert dusk. The end. Now let's see why this happened. If the brothers had known how to round off their answers of the division, they could have easily solved the problem themselves. Rounding up is done when a result of a calculation contains a factorial part.